Kia ora, good evening. Fonterra has confirmed no change to its forecast payout of $5.90 to $6 for farmer shareholders in the 2012-13 season. The payout is unchanged from the December forecast despite dry weather conditions affecting supply. Fonterra Chief Executive Theo Spearing says dry conditions, particularly in the North Island over December and January, saw affected milk supply, but a strong start to the season meant for the full season volumes were up 1%. The farm gate milk price is forecast at $5.50 and the earnings per share range remains at 40 to 50 cents. New Zealand's economic growth is on the mend. That's according to the New Zealand Institute of Economic Research's latest quarterly prediction, which says the economic recovery is expected to see slow improvement. NZIER says reviving credit growth, housing investment and the Canterbury rebuild suggest 2013 and 14 will be better than the past 4 years. Economic growth is expected to be between 2 and 2.5% over the next few years, up from less than 2%. However, the report warns risks remain as the recession did not purge economic imbalances such as high household debt. Construction of Southland's Around the Mountains cycle trail from Walter Peak to Kingston could begin within the next month. Southland District Council Chief Executive David Adamson says there will be challenges, including meeting an ambitious Stage 1 target. Another challenge is likely to be finding funding, with government signing off on half of the $8 million project, with the remainder still to be found.
Well, the latest estimate's around about $8 million, so yes we do. We are going to be talking to the community funders. Council's agreeing to underwrite that, but basically yes, we will be looking for community contributions. We believe the benefits of this will be regional wide because it'll be the catalyst from which it'll be very easy to run a line from Lumsden down to Gore, obviously from Lumsden down to Invercargill, and also to link over from the Ariti or Lake Mavora over to Te Anau. So we see it being a bit of a catalyst for the spread of trails, so we believe the benefits will be widespread. So we will be looking for partners to help us fund that, and that's really, once we get the construction of Stage 1 going, that's really where we're going to put all our energy into to look at it. And it's not easy out there, you know, economic times are not as good as what they were probably 3 years ago, and we recognise that. Things like the lottery grants have stopped their big grants, but again, we will be approaching partners to see what can happen, because we believe the benefits will be far wide and ranging. But you only need to look at the Centro Otago trail to give you an idea of what benefits it's spread to, obviously the towns on the trail, but also to the wider environment.
So council's agreed to underwrite that. That could become quite a liability. Why decide to do that?
Basically, it was the only way the agreement could be signed, and so they believe in the project. They believe it's a good economic development. They are confident that partners will come and help us do that. But basically, we have got a business case that's showing that the economic development, particularly to those small communities, the growth in a wide range of things will be of benefit to the province.
Now, Stage 1 is expected to be completed in 8 months. What's that going to involve?
Yeah, Stage 1 basically is from Kingston, as I've said, down to Lumsden and then across to Mossburn. A lot of it's on the old rail trail, and a lot of that is pretty good condition. So probably if anywhere in Southland you were going to build something over winter, it's probably as good as anywhere. But as you know about Southland, it's not the ideal time sometimes to build. There'll be times, I imagine, over winter that'll be under snow and things, so there'll be some restrictions related to weather, but again, I think fairly dry, reasonably well draining, so touch wood, we are going to pull out all the stops and see whether we can meet that end of October deadline.
Is that an ambitious target to reach that October deadline?
I think it is an ambitious target. We're talking about 80 kilometres, and I think it'll take a little bit of innovative thought from the contractors that we employ to do it, because it will be contracted out. But I think if we collectively use the best available, and traditionally winter is a low time, there's not a lot of work on for local contractors, so one, we're hoping that we'll get some really good prices, and we're hoping that we'll get some reasonable sized workforces that could do it. Obviously it's only 2 metres wide, so it's not as if you can have 100 people working on it, but we could start building it in a number of different locations, and so and slowly the bits will meet.
A tourism campaign by Venture Southland may be attracting online attention, but it's yet to prove itself in visitor numbers. The Best of Both Worlds campaign was launched in November. According to Venture Southland, it generated more than 1,500 new followers to its Southland Facebook page and over 4,000 visitors to its website. However, visitor numbers in November were down on the previous 2 years, while December saw a fall from 2011, although it was slightly up on 2010. Guest nights fell also in the 2012 year, with international visitors contributing partially due to a boost from the Rugby World Cup in 2011. Tourism Sector Manager Tareen Ellis says the campaign was about raising awareness and benefits might not flow through in the next season. She says it sometimes takes more than a year for marketing to gain traction. The Southern District Health Board's latest performance results have been released and show the region is failing to meet government targets in 6 out of 7 areas. In its 2012 to 13 second quarter results, the Southern DHB is meeting targets for shorter wait times for cancer treatment and increased immunisation. However, among targets not met were shorter emergency department stays, better help for smokers and improved access to elective surgery. While some targets weren't met, there were improvements for diabetes and heart checks, smoking cessation and shorter waiting times in emergency departments. New targets have been set for shorter wait times, increased immunisation and better help for smokers to quit. After the break, exports take a tumble. How far have they fallen? Welcome back. New Zealand's exports have taken a hit, falling 10% on a year ago. According to Statistics New Zealand, the value of exported goods was down 10% in January, falling $378 million from January 2012. Milk, powder, butter, cheese and crude oil largely led the drop in exports. The trend for exports has been falling in recent months. Australia remains the biggest destination for New Zealand exports, followed by China. Imported goods also fell, down 6%. A new bill has been introduced in Parliament targeting the legal highs industry. The Psychoactive Substances Bill will mean proof will be required to show legal high products are safe before they can be sold. Suppliers or manufacturers will have to apply to a regulator for a safety assessment. Clear testing criteria will establish risks of products, including toxicology and behavioural testing. The law is expected to be enacted in August, replacing the temporary class drug notice regime, which has removed more than 30 substances and 50 products from the market. A proposal to remove reserve status and allow for the sale of 2 sections of the Sandy Point domain has been turned down by Invercargill City Council. Councillors decided not to remove the status which would make the land leased by the Cabbage Tree restaurant and the Beach Road motor camp available for freehold. Meanwhile, Coopers Creek residents had sought longer lease periods than the current year-by-year leases and raised concerns around rebuilding rights should their homes be destroyed. The cribs are located on the reserve but were at the location before the area was made a reserve. Council says it intends to work with residents to set up a working party and find a way forward. Invercargill residents are being told to run water from their taps before filling drinking vessels to avoid consuming traces of metals. The Ministry of Health has issued a warning about the levels of metals which could potentially leach from plumbing fittings, including trace elements of heavy metals like nickels, zincs and cobalt. Residents are being advised to run off water that's been left in pipes overnight or for extended periods to reduce the risk of ingesting water containing leached metals. Invercargill City Council Water Manager Alistair Murray says the quality of the water hasn't changed, but residents are advised to flush the water system before using it as a precautionary measure. For the past decade, locals on Stewart Island have been quietly working to improve the environment. Sarah Bedford took a look at the work of the Stewart Island Rakiura Community and Environment Trust, which is about to celebrate its 10th anniversary.
10,000 and counting. That's how many rats a group of locals on Stewart Island have eradicated over the past decade. The Stewart Island Rakiura Community and Environment Trust started in 2003 as a group that wanted to improve their natural environment, and Treasurer Letitia McRitchie says there have been many achievements over that time.
We've achieved a lot out at Acres Point with our rat trapping. We've got 10,221 rats to date and counting. Many more that have disappeared out in the bush, but that's a great number. But yeah, just the fact we've managed to continue operating. We employ staff, we are fully funded, and that's a great achievement.
Early on, pest control was identified as an area needing work, something undertaken at Ackers Peninsula, a forested area of reserve and private land close to the township of Oban. The group's efforts seem to be paying off with a boost in native wildlife.
Well, our monitoring has shown some really dramatic results. We monitor the birds, the forest birds, and that's shown, originally we had some really high increases, 150% increases in the number of birds in the forest, so it's been great.
There have been plenty of challenges along the way.
Volunteer motivation has been a big challenge. Rat trapping is something you have to do every week. If you miss a week, then that gives the rats a chance to predate birds. So keeping our volunteers motivated and keeping enough volunteers in the project has been a big challenge.
Pest control manager Denise Hayes says she got involved with the trust because she wanted to do something to help the environment.
I've always absolutely loved New Zealand bush and birds in particular, but also the trees and other plants. So I've always wanted to be involved in something along hands-on conservation. I also really enjoy promoting conservation, so taking school groups out, getting the kids when they're young.
Volunteers are key to the work and play a big part in pest control.
It's all about getting the volunteers enthused, keeping them checking their traps on a weekly basis so we catch as many rats as we can. Yeah. And it's also about getting local people involved and really advocating the whole conservation ethic, basically.
Among other projects, the Trust is restoring the Lonicas Beach area, runs an environment centre and has established a native plant nursery. Looking to the future, the goal is to continue to reduce pest numbers and bring more native species to the area. Sarah Bedford, South Today News.
Coming up in sport, we preview the Ford Trophy cricket coming to Invercargill's Queen's Park Oval. That's after the weather next. From the news team, good night.